most of all, I'm proud of how much you wanted to help the Afghan people and what you were willing to do to go to that length.
Well, I just don't want to see him hailed as a hero, and I just want him to face the consequences of his own actions and possibly face a court-martial for desertion.
He thought he could help. He wanted to help to Afghan people and to be a part of whatever was available to be helping in the situation.
Charles, because you are a trained psychiatrist and are probably analyzing all of us at all times, I'm very interested to get your insight into Bowe Bergdahl, what we've learned about him, his background, kind of what motivated him and why he would have gone to a place like this.
Well, I'm a psychiatrist in remission, and you can't really do any serious analysis of anybody at a distance, anybody you don't know. So speaking as a layman, as somebody who's lived long enough to have some opinions, I think, as is described by Steve, this is a guy who should have been in an NGO. He should have been with Oxfam, or he should have been with some other social service, and he finds himself carrying a gun. And I suspect he got disillusioned, although the fact that he wanted to join the French Foreign Legion means that you've got a kind of a weird, romantic, unrealistic side to you. I think the overwhelming evidence is, and we haven't seen all of it, so all of this is preliminary, is that he deserted. I don't think there's much question we will once he's here. And I think it's very important that the Army pursue this. If you're going to do the swap that we did for this kind of guy, where there is a question as to whether he left on his own or not, or what the motives were, you absolutely have to bring military justice to bear. And we don't want to prejudge this, but there was one person in the Pentagon who said, after 5 years in captivity, he suffered enough. That's not the right answer. That's not how you deal with desertion.
We have consulted with Congress for quite some time about the possibility that we might need to execute a prisoner exchange in order to recover Sergeant Bergdahl. We saw an opportunity. We were concerned about Sergeant Bergdahl's health. We had the cooperation of the Qataris to execute an exchange, and we seized that opportunity.
It comes with some surprise and dismay that the transfers went ahead with no consultation, totally not following the law, and in an issue of this kind of concern to a committee that bears the oversight responsibility, I think you can see that we're very dismayed about it.
Charles, as we often see with politicians, the president's very carefully parsing his words, saying we've been discussing this with them. Does that meet the spirit of this law, though, that was recently agreed to and signed by the president, albeit with a signing statement, that they have to be notified with 30 days advance notice?
The spirit of the law was to prevent Obama from emptying Guantanamo unilaterally. This is somewhat different, and I think I'm surprised he didn't make this case. The idea that there was a health issue is a crock, that's really ridiculous. Who's going to believe that? The case I would make is this wasn't an emptying of Guantanamo, this was a prisoner exchange. There's huge disputes between the president and Congress over authority, but the one area where the president holds the upper hand in those disputes is in matters of war and peace. He's commander-in-chief, and I think a prisoner of war exchange is in the province of the presidency. I find it odd that the Congress that said not a word when Obama amended his own health care bill 38 times, didn't say a word when Obama enacted the DREAM Act, which Congress had rejected unilaterally, hasn't said a word when the Department of Justice has rewritten all the laws on drug trafficking and drug possession, doesn't rise to defend its prerogatives as it should. All of a sudden is upset in the one area where the president has the strongest claim to act unilaterally, and that is in matters of war and peace.
Senator Collins points out, as many others do, that it's her understanding that the White House, and Senator Dianne Feinstein said this, essentially called to apologize, which Collins says to me that basically concedes that they should have notified us and they knew it. Charles?
Well, I think they want to cover themselves on a legal point. They also want to placate Democrats, because the real problem is that Obama always is claiming this is a partisan attack for whatever the issue is. Always the other party wanting to attack him personally for all kinds of reasons. But when you get, as in the VA case, and as you get here, an uproar among Democrats, he knows he's got real trouble, and that's why he's doing this. But I wouldn't credit the sincerity of that letter for a minute.
All right.
This has been a Sunfish production.